recycling, upcycling is something that's been around for generations, especially in Indian culture. And I always say that's not the solution. Recycling is not the solution. I would consider myself successful the day I will not have a single waste to work with.
Everywhere around us, we see tons of plastic being discarded on a daily basis. And it's not just plastic, it's so many other things which are termed as waste, which are mindlessly rather, just discarded. And what do we do about that? Well, that's what we are going to do in this episode. Dear listeners, I have a question for you. If you see plastic around you, what do you do? One, you just ignore it and walk away. Two, you throw it in the dustbin. Or three, you do something like what my guest today is doing. He has turned waste into best, something that we have been taught in our school in our primitive years. And that's what he's been doing. He has successfully transformed waste into something very meaningful. He has made houses and bricks out of plastic waste and turned it into something so useful that you and I can use it on a daily basis. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Being the Change. My name is Rohan Thakar and I have with me Dr. Binish Desai, or as we call him, the Recycle Man of India. Welcome to the show, Binish. It's so lovely to have you today.
Thank you for the lovely introduction.
Here we are going to talk about a deeper concept of what can we do about plastic and the waste that is around us. Now, I try to be consciously aware about not to use plastic, but uh, some or the other way it does come into our lifestyle. So Binish, what do you have to say about this? यार क्या कर सकते हैं इसका?
Palita, we need to start understanding what waste is. Most of our concepts about waste, about recycling, are on all, I would say, greenwashed to an extent. People, when I say greenwash, it means just that, there are people out there are companies out there that have just changed our perspective about environment to favor their own good or own means. First, we need to understand what waste is. Something that is completely not of use, but it's also something that is not natural. It's man-made. It is us humans who have created it, and millions of years ago, before man and technology had evolved, everything from the food we ate, the clothes we wore, even the shelters we lived in, everything was completely going back to nature. But with over time, with evolution of technology, with say in Indian terms, our dependency towards the Western culture, because in India, the Indian culture has always been more about jugaad, about sustainability. But when we started getting inspired towards the fast fashion culture, throwing it away, and all those modern cultures, that is something when waste became an issue for, especially for our country. And for around the world, when the new technology started coming, it became more burden for the nature to break down all these materials, and hence resulting in generation of waste. So that's where the issue is.
Yeah, I have a counter for you here. Like if you look in capitalism terms, so all they have done is that they have reduced the cost to manufacture something and try to expand it and made it more accessible. So
Well, before that came in,
yeah,
I would just tell you, before that came in, Indians were still happy, and we are still
yeah.
happy. Sustainability is not expensive. Go to see
Hmm.
villages. All the people living in our villages, all our farmers, are the
Ah.
biggest and the most sustainable people in the world. If you go to see,
Hmm.
because they grow their own food, they live a
Yeah.
very minimal lifestyle. If you go to see, there are a lot of things that we buy that we don't need, but the things that we want, and that's one of the very biggest reasons why all these what we call it as non-essential necessities are growing up, and that's
Hmm.
resulting in waste. If you, for example, if I personally survive on 12 pair of clothing a year, but nowadays, 12 pair of clothing a week is still something short of fashion. So
Hmm.
that's the difference. That is not a necessity. You can still survive on
Yeah.
just couple of clothes or used clothes that are passed down from your elders, brother or sister or
Hmm. And that's
XYZ.
completely okay.
It's completely fine, yeah.
Hmm.
There's no harm in that,
Yeah.
but making it as if that it's a need that you every Instagram post should have a new clothing.
Yeah.
What now is termed as the Instagram fashion, which you would
Yeah.
only wear it or buy it for just wearing it on Instagram, and then you'll never
Yeah.
use that ever again. So all these things have become an issue, and that's where the real issue of
Yeah.
waste has become more and more dominant in terms of the amount of waste that we are throwing out. And with every parcel or every order we make,
Yeah.
we are adding to not just
Oh yeah.
that particular material, but also the packaging that is revolved around it, the cost of manufacturing, and the
So
carbon
true.
emissions that went into the transportation, into making it. All
और
these things.
पसंद नहीं आया तो रिटर्न भी हो जाता है.
Yep. So वही चीज है that things
Yeah.
have become all what you said. They have made things accessible,
Hmm.
but still, if you go to see, all the natural things are still not accessible. There are
Hmm.
still people who are waiting for water around the world. There
Yeah.
are still people not having basic toilets or houses.
Yeah.
That's the
True.
issue. You can have an iPhone, but there is still someone out there who may not have that
Without a phone.
access. Exactly, yeah.
आए तो भूल जाओ फोन ही नहीं. But yeah, it's so true. It's so true, and I completely agree. Something that I have been trying to do is I have very limited set of clothes now. What I do is I've got two pairs of white, two pairs of blue, two pairs of black. और फिर कोई पूछेगा ही नहीं कि अभी क्या पहनूं.
I'll tell you, that's where the thing is, Abhi Kya Pehnu is
हाँ.
that I have always, a lot of people ask,
Yeah.
why, wear what you want, why is it that I always feel, and I've always said this, that there are two things that are very much an issue. One is the waste, the other is our biasness or our understanding about genders, we always associate certain styles, certain clothing, or certain fashion to a certain particular gender. And that's also where a lot of issues are also coming, because then you are always conscious about what you're wearing. Wear what you want, repeat as many times as you want. Why can't you? My wife, she set an example. She wore her bridal clothes, her bridal lehenga, which was still one of the most minimal, because she had used some old sari clothing to make her own lehenga for the wedding. But she also repeated that same thing at my sister's wedding. So it's all about trying to understand what best we can do out of the things that we have, rather than going out to buy things that we don't necessarily may need.
Yeah. Yeah. So coming to marriage, you just got married few months ago. Am I right? Not even a year.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
congratulations to that.
Thank you.
And I was just scrolling through your post, and you guys did something different. Now, what was that? Can you share it?
So it's a zero waste wedding. So not just a zero waste wedding, but in fact we introduced some very unique concepts. The most clearest one being is that what we did was we had very limited guests that we had invited, but we calculated the carbon footprint of each and every person who had come to our wedding, from
Oh
the
wow.
start point of their house to the places they visited. So we had their itinerary set, that where
Hmm.
they are coming from, the exact address, to the carbon footprint that they will make if they are sharing, cars, or most of them carpool. We had requested them to carpool to come to our wedding. We had sourced everything local. Everything was sourced locally. The entire decor was all made out of waste from our products made by Eco Decor, which is my brand. We had made plates itself also made out of coffee waste, everything handmade. And we introduced the most unique concept, which was called Prakriti Puja. So जैसे we all have different rituals, right? During a wedding, may it be haldi, mehendi ceremony, sangeet. Why not introduce something related to sustainability? So it is we introduce this ritual where the bride and the groom, on the next day of the wedding, once they are done with the wedding rituals, they will have a report of how much carbon emission they created by getting married, and they would go and offset it by actually contributing by recycling the waste. And so I and my wife Yashvi, we both went to our center, and we took
Hmm.
all our friends, near and dear ones, who had attended the wedding, to go
Wow.
and make bricks out of it, and those bricks were then donated to make a toilet for someone who was in need, and we
Wow.
offset our entire carbon emissions in that manner.
Awesome. So this is what my show is all about. That it's not just talk, but also share examples how people have actually done it in their life, and we too can do it. I have no intention of marrying anytime soon, but listeners, wedding season will soon be on. So if you are finding any cues, Binish is here.
Absolutely, we are happy to help. We run Eco Shadi
Yeah.
program where anyone who wants to get married can take our consultation. Where help them make their weddings completely zero
Yeah.
waste.
Awesome. So I had one question that it may be a very generic question, but where do you source this waste so much from, and how do you turn it into something so useful?
Waste comes to us from all around the world. We can say
Hmm.
it comes from Bahrain as well, because the
Oh,
problem is that waste is everywhere.
yeah.
Whatever you see around is a waste. If you go to see, things that as simple as after you're drinking a cup of coffee, you don't
Hmm.
realize you're producing around 30 to 40 grams of waste from just a shot of Americano,
Hmm.
or a cup of cappuccino would generate around 30 to 40 grams of coffee waste. So just small things that you do generate a lot of waste, and we source all that waste. Your PP, the latest being the PP face mask, and
Yeah.
the kits that we have been using for past few years, we can say now almost 2 3 years, I can say. And that's also one of the ways that we get. It's all the people who are sending it to us. We also work closely with organizations, with corporates, for industries which are generating a lot of waste. We take the waste from them. We are in around 115 different types of waste that we have identified, and that's what we work along with.
So you
Waste
then
is everywhere.
segregate, of course. So you then
Absolutely,
segregate it
most of it
and
comes to us segregated. So
uh,
we are see, when a lot of times there is this misconception in the industry when someone says recyclers. A lot of times they are segregators,
hmm.
and post that the non essential or the non recyclable waste from their facilities comes to us, where we convert them into products.
And then what's the process like when you're making something? Let's say you're
So
making brick, right? So or like what are some of the things that you have made out of waste, and
so
what are the processes for that?
Absolutely. So our process is divided into three factors. One is identification. The key is not just about identifying the waste, but how is it coming? Where is the source of it? How much carbon intensive has the process been? How much waste is being generated on a daily or a monthly basis? All these things we calculate, we identify, then we research about it. So the process of identification also consists of the research aspects, which is a major aspect of the company, where we do majority of the eco-economical research, which means that the product just does not need to be environment friendly, but it also has to be economically sustainable. It also has to do the right in terms of replacing the current existing product. So that is identification. Then comes the eco, processing, or the segregation, we can say. So segregation happens through our partners or through people who are already segregating it. It reaches to us, but still we believe in specific segregation. So rather than later on segregating it, we try to send out specific bins that are set up, for collection of those specific products that need to be recycled. So it reduced down the process or the intensity through which the mechanism needs to work. So specific segregation is literally segregating at the source, and then it reaches us. And the last process would be eco processing, which again has multiple sub processes. If we call it about brick, then what happens is the material comes to our factory, it is sanitized, it's washed, then it is mixed in the desired recipe of the material that we have invented, and then it is mostly hand processed for. So we are technology developers. Most of the people misunderstand us as manufacturers, but we are just technology developers. So we make the technology, we create a pilot scale of it, and then for
Yeah,
scaling it up, we just give out on a franchise basis to the people who are looking towards
got it.
manufacturing of it. That's easily replicable. Our clients are governments or private investors who want to do something for their space, something unique. So that's something that we work with.
So where do you see this scale going in? Because as a city dweller, I don't see any of the builders. Not that there is space, but anyway who are today the big developers. Majority of them are not looking at this. So do you think there is an entry?
Oh, absolutely. So we have majority big developers who are very much taking our product now, because
Hmm.
for past few years sustainability was not their priority, but things are changing. Post COVID, one good thing that has happened is this: people have realized that it's more important than ever to talk about sustainability, to talk about how much they are putting onto this earth, and not just that, even the organizations, the governments are now focusing more on sustainability. So that's helping in a large way. The best part about our technologies are they are easily scalable, easily replicable, in terms of if you need a small unit for a hobby, you can still do that. If you want to actually earn out of it, you can still do that as well. It's a profitable product. So a lot of times the people into the business are always looking for things that do earn them or fetch them profit, at the same time doing something good for the environment, and that's exactly where our technologies fit in. So it's getting accepted. It's getting replicated. It's growing, and we have recently started developing technology that helps us update the current existing infrastructure of the government or municipal bodies, so they do not need to invest a huge amount to set up something like this. They just need to update their existing waste management infrastructure to increase their capacity to create products out of the waste which was anyways getting thrown out or
Hmm.
incinerated. So that's how we are scaling up.
Awesome. So recycling and upcycling has been there for a while now. It's been there for centuries, and like you said, Indian culture has always been about around centered around this. But in today's time, how do you make it mainstream now?
I feel like it's already mainstream. As I said earlier, my first thing was it's just we don't know how to what exactly is about. A lot
Yeah.
of people ask me about, as you said, recycling, upcycling is something that's been around for generations, especially in Indian culture. And I always say that's not the solution. Recycling is not the solution. I would consider myself successful the day I will not have a single waste to work with,
Hmm.
until unless it's not something that
Yeah.
just doing a part of the process. The
Yeah.
success will be when nothing will be coming out as waste. Everything would go back directly to the nature without even us having to process
Yeah.
it. So
Good.
our dependency on synthetic material has to reduce and opt towards more nature friendly approach, apart from just being circular, because there is always even in circular economy, for it to be successful, there should not be any residual waste as well. So we work mostly with residual waste. Is basically we are recycling, but only 90% of it, so that 10% comes out still as a waste. And that's something that we've closely worked with, but it's just a solution, we can say, a temporary one. But the idea should be it should be 100% going back to the nature, and that is something which would be a success in terms of our achievements.
Yeah, so I have to correct my statement here. It's not recycling, but the goal should be zero waste.
Absolutely.
So this, change in shift of our thinking, it's a stage for everyone. Like first stage is mindlessly doing what you're doing. Second is being aware that, this is not right, but what can we also do? The third stage is that, okay, I'm taking the first step, and slowly I'm realizing that I can avoid this. Third, then after that is where we are coming, uh, about zero waste. Now it's a complete change in mindset. And when we were talking before the recording as well, even in the slightest things that we do, there's so much of carbon waste being generated, like something as simple as just shooting a mail or a text message. So how do we go about it, man?
So, as you said, it's all stages. Everything is a process. You're always learning.
Yeah.
Absolutely understand. A lot of people do not have the correct uh, idea or the knowledge about how they can become more sustainable,
Yeah.
and hence there is always a requirement of guiding. But a lot of times, people are misguided in terms of
Hmm.
but as I always say, greenwashing is the biggest problem right now existing. As everyone is talking about sustainability, but there are a lot of times that people are just greenwashing you through, products which are hypothetically creating more harm than good to the environment. So, first trying to understand the right routes, and I would always say for India it's much easier because we
Hmm.
just need to go back to our roots. Our moms are the biggest recyclers. If you
Yeah.
go to see, we all have our favorite t-shirt becoming a pocha the moment it's torn down, so we
Yeah.
know that what upcycling is, reuse is, recycling is. Just that we need to adopt into our system more and more, and it's gradual process. I
Yeah.
started my journey at the age of 10. My first invention was the age of 10, and I didn't have a guide back then. So my idea is actually towards giving back now, towards our upcoming generation, because if we start incorporating things in the earliest stage possible, in the small kids and age 10, towards moving forward towards everyone, even 50-year-olds can learn
But
about
how
it.
did this come to you? Because at 10, I was watching Doraemon.
So
So how?
I was watching Captain Planet, so that's something that just the difference of a cartoon, maybe probably. So I was watching Captain Planet; he was my favorite character. So working with waste back then was not
Yeah.
something that I was thinking it to go mainstream.
Hmm.
I was just simply saying that I wanted to help my superhero, and I
Yeah.
kept inventing. It
Yeah.
was back in 2009 when I went to United States. When I talked to the people, my friends there who I had made in school, and they said, "Why don't you pursue this as a career?" And so I came back home, and I said that I fought against it. And back then, working with waste or making toilets or such things, there was not much of startup India. There was not. Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, so all these things were not mainstream back then. So working with waste was kind of a taboo coming from a small town. So all those struggles and all have taught me towards how to entirely take this thing forward. I've learned from my mistakes. I always say that failure is the best thing to teach you how not to do a particular thing, and that's what I've been a constant failure towards learning the process and gradually reaching to the goal which I
Hmm.
have set right now.
Hmm. Amazing. So there's been one thing which has been going around my mind, that uh, you are an inventor and you have got several tools, both your mind and the physical tools which are there. But for someone like me and several others at home, So what are few of the things that we could, identify? First is identifying it as a waste, and of course reducing it is the second process. But uh, after identifying it, how can we, reuse it into something more useful? Like you just took an example of the coffee waste that is there. So how do you turn that into something meaningful?
So
Few
there
examples
are
if you could share.
absolutely. So the first thing is stop buying things that you feel like buying. Buy only the
Hmm.
things that you need and not the things that you want. That will automatically reduce your
Yeah.
waste creation to a large extent. Try repairing things. Try buying used products. It's always a good idea if you're talking about electronic second-hand products. Is a good idea. You know, a lot of things. Uh, Track your carbon footprint. Always will
Yeah.
say know your so you should have like an annual. I do for my family as well. Every year we have a report card of sorts where
Hmm.
we track on a daily basis how much carbon emission that we are generating, of the most minutest details as well that we do. If I take a cab, how much kilometers I travel, all that data we keep collecting to have an annual footprint, and we try to reduce it on an annual basis. That what next, how
Hmm.
can we do it another. So it's make it like a challenge, make it like a game, be more interactive. If you are
Yeah.
in a family, try challenging your sibling or your wife or your partner or your kids, that can we do this, this the simpler techniques, small, educate. It's very important to educate, educate each other, learn from each other. Things that you may have a misconception about, try to clear it as much as possible. A lot of times I call it as wish thinking, wish recycling, which is basically we wish that this was recycled and we end up throwing it into the recycler bin. But it's actually, most of us think paper is 100% recyclable. uh, yes, it is, but it's not commercially recyclable. People do not understand these two concepts, because for example, if you will recycle paper in your own house and create products out of it, that's you completely 100% recycle it into something new which is of use. But if your Raddiwala takes it, it goes back into the paper mills, where only 60% of your paper becomes brand new paper again, because it's very difficult for you to commercially recycle or de-ink it, and that particular paper of your just changes its name to secondary waste, and it ends up into a landfill. So such things, just understanding such things, we are coming up with a program called Westific, which is going to be open for a lot of people. It will include courses, it will include master classes for
Wow.
people from age 10 all the way till 60, 70, 80, whoever
Arey wow.
wants to join in any profession. It will be like a database, it will be a think tank also, which consists of different materials that I have invented over the years for people to have access towards, for students who have access, and create
Hmm.
more products out of it. We are working on that particular model. So absolutely, that is something that we are doing it. But till then, you can also collect coffee waste from your homes. If you are going, let's say, to a Starbucks, you order a cup of coffee, ask them if they could uh, collect coffee waste for you, and you could send it to us as well. A lot of cafes are sending it to us, but we have certain instructions of how you can send it, because we do not want
Yeah.
an added carbon footprint. For example,
Right.
we collect PPE face masks. If you have masks at home, collect minimum, we say 100 masks, but the more the better. If you are able to collect 250 masks, that will be a carbon neutral transport from anywhere in India to our center, and will recycle it. So things,
Wow.
simpler things that you can do, opting for local options, opting for more eco-friendly options, for sustainable things. This misconception that sustainable is expensive is also an
Hmm.
issue, because people are always scared, but they do not understand
Yeah.
that a handmade sustainable thing is maybe expensive because it is
Hmm.
handmade. If you are lot of, for example, we have a home decor brand which
Yeah.
is completely sustainable, but it is still cost effective
Machinery.
than
Hmm.
most of the products that are handmade and are in the market. But
Yeah.
people still try to compare it with maybe a melamine. So we have crockery, so
Hmm.
they'll try to compare it with a steel plate or a melamine plate, which would cost
Yeah.
around 100 rupees. So that mindset needs to change. People need to
Yeah.
start understanding and start taking waste as a serious product. It is
Also, the
a
quality
direct.
and the durability will be different, right?
Absolutely, it's much more durable. It's much more stronger. It's much
Hmm.
more unique. It has a story attached to it. It's not just the feel good factor around it, but it's also about trying to understand how sustainability works. It's 100%
Yeah.
recyclable. It can be shaped, and it is completely safe in terms of there's no fumes that are coming out. So a lot of things. It's just
Hmm.
about creating small mindsets about
Yeah.
how we perceive waste to be. When we talk about waste, people just assume that, oh, it's dirty. So we are trying to change that mindset. We
Hmm.
are, in fact, one of the unique things that we are working on is trying to take make this museum of waste. It's one of a kind
Wow.
in the world, which will consist of all the products that we have worked with, we are working with, and invite other innovators also have worked with waste products to come and feature it. And we are very excited about this
Should
entire
be
project.
interesting. Yeah.
Absolutely. So it will be more of a space. It's a thinking space. I invite everyone. I'm using this podcast to invite everyone to come down there, come see what waste is, bring your ideas on the table, create products out of it, and it will be a learning space altogether. So just simpler things. Again, if you are talking about things that you can do in your house, if there is an event going on, if it's a wedding, a baby shower, or a birthday, or as simple as just going out on a vacation,
Yeah.
try doing as much reduction of waste or carbon emission as you can. Try to see
Yeah.
for options, how you can reduce your carbon footprint, how you can travel more sustainably, how you can plan your weddings more sustainably, and we are there to help you. So
Yeah.
no, always my team is there to help you and reach out whenever you can. So these are ways you can
Hmm.
reduce or simply just take care of the nature.
Yeah. So one more question around this only.
Hmm.
Uh, for all those kitchen scientists, something that they could do at home, for making something good out of it.
There are a lot of recipes that are there. So upcycling is the biggest thing that you can do. If you have a tire at home, converting it into a chair is, there are a lot of
Ah.
DIYs now, do it yourself
Yeah.
things that are out there. The simplest of things, which mostly are utility and craft products.
Hmm.
But if you want to do something as that, for example, you have used masks or used clothes or coffee or tea, tea bags, things like that. We are trying to collaborate with many brands to try to bring circularity into the mainstream. A lot of brands are coming up towards ensuring reusability and all these
Yeah.
things. But if you want to do it, still there are a lot of waste. For example, plastic waste, MLPs. One very good example, when you are using any plastic container or anything. Do not cut a small piece out of it.
Hmm.
Always try to ensure, because the smallest of the piece
Yeah.
is an issue. Try collecting all of that, and then you can eventually send it. You can collect it in, all your neighborhood can get together and have a bin placed
Hmm.
for the
Hmm.
small pieces. Collect it and then send it across. As simple as you can also collect your fabric lint that comes out from your washing machines,
Hmm.
um, and you can send it to us as well.
Superb. So I'll be putting all the links of Binish in the description and show notes. So uh, if you have got an initiative for your home, followed by your neighborhood, uh, please do contact him on his email address or the whichever link that I'm posting below, so you yourself can take part in this sustainable journey, more than sustainability, zero waste journey, and realizing that how much you need is sufficient. It was a pleasure talking to you, Binish, and I hope we do more such conversations. Thank you for taking out time at 10 a.m., 10 p.m. at night.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful having this conversation.
Cool. And listeners, if you have found this helpful, make sure you comment below and share this episode with whoever needs to listen to this. And I'm sure everyone needs to listen to this because it's not something very complicated, it's something very simple that you could do in your day to day life and bring a change yourself rather than waiting for anyone to bring that change. This is Rohan Thakar signing off. Make sure you subscribe and stay with me for a future journey episodes as well. Thank you.